Hello there. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to create these beautiful animated cards. Now if I scroll through these cards, you'll see that the animation gets activated. And they only get activated when they appear on the screen. When they go off screen, they get deactivated, as you can see here. So I'm going to be using something called IntersectionObserver to achieve this. And to follow along with this tutorial, you would also need to download the files from my previous tutorial, which was creating fancy border, and that tutorial went through how to create these beautiful cards with these complex shaped images. So if you like more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel, and let's begin. So to start this project, I'm going to use the code from my last tutorial, which was creating fancy borders. So I've set up the files here already. What you can do is to get the code, you can go to GitHub and go to UI-code-tv/fancy border, and that was my last tutorial. Okay, so you got three files there. You got beach.jpg, index.html, and style.css. So these are the files that you need. So back to so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first do the animation in CSS. Then I'm going to show you how to do the same animation in using JavaScript. Then I'm going to use IntersectionObserver to trigger the animation when you scroll down. So so to start off with, I'm going to I've got this demo running in the browser at the moment. Okay, so as you can see, I've got three cards here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify it, and I'm going to just have one card, okay, to work with. This is going to make it much easier. So I'm going to save that. So now I've got one card. Okay, so I'm going to go back now. I'm going to go into style.css and start to add the animation. Okay, we have a very simplified CSS here. We've got cards and card and image, and basically the cards is a flex configuration, and it's got align items center and justify content space around, and it's got this sort of a turquoise color. And the card has got a box shadow. It's got a height of 50 and box radius. Border radius, sorry, and the width of 35 the height. Okay, so the image has got a width and a height, and it's got a background image which has a background size of cover, and is centered, and so it sort of fits into that area. Okay, so and also got this border radius, which is what that which is why it's got a sort of a complex border to it, and the border's got also a shadow. Okay, so there's nothing, and you know, this is just for a demo. You should, you know, in a real example, you know, you'll have your reset styles and things like that. So I just made it as simple as possible. So and I also got this one, which is we don't really use that. We don't really need that. That's just. So I'll just delete that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add keyframes to image. Okay, so to do keyframes animation, what it looks like is the format looks like this. Okay, so you have your keyframes at keyframes, and then you have your name, and then you have curly brackets, and inside curly brackets you have two properties, from the from property and the to property, and the from property will have curly brackets, and then you put in the properties that you want to animate. So for our animation, if we go back into the markup, so we've got a div with image class, and there's a h2 and a p1. So h2 is the title, and so the p is the content. So we're gonna move the image from the bottom up, and move the h2 from left to right, and the p tag from right to left. So in our keyframes, first I'm going to give it a name. So I'm just going to delete this because it's just a silly example that I put in. The anim image with a capital I, and in the from, so we're going to be doing a transform translate. Okay, so transform translate, and we're going to do the y value, and we're going to move it from 50 pixels, and then we're going to have an opacity of 0. Okay, so this is the starting values for the animation and the ending values. So I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it in and just change the value to 0. Okay, so this will animate so it will go 50 down, start from 50 down, then it will move up to 0. Okay, so if I save that, go to, and I do a refresh. Oh, sorry. So what I forgot is I've specified the keyframes, but I haven't applied it to anything. So silly me. So I just copy that name, anim image, and I'm going to say in the image class, I'm going to say animation, and we're going to give it, we're going to call the animation name, which is anim image. I'm going to run it for 2 seconds, and let's just see what that is. Okay. So we need to also change the opacity. And the ending opacity should be 1. Okay, so if I save that and go to the browser, okay, and refresh, so it's moving from down to up. Okay, so I can also, in the image properties, I can add infinite. Okay, so what this does is this will loop through the animation and just repeating it. So it saves me refreshing all the time. So we just do that just to see that the animation is running. Okay, so go back now. I'm gonna add the same animation. Well, I'm gonna just copy it and then call it a different name. So I'm gonna call it anim title, which is gonna be, we're gonna be moving the this H2. So what we're going to do is we're going to be moving from the, we're going to be transform translate X position, and we're going to be moving from the left, which is -50. Okay, and then we're going to move to the 0 position and the opacity 1. Okay, so we're going to be applying it to the H2. So I'm going to say dot card H2, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the animation. Okay, and the name of the animation is anim title. And I'm going to say 2 seconds and infinite. So save that. So it's moving up and it's moving across. So the image is moving up and the title is moving from left to right. So so now we're going to do the same thing for the P. So what we need to do is we need to say that, change that to P. Well, we're going to call that content. Okay, but we haven't created content yet, so we need to create an animation for content. So I just copied that and then just place it there, and I'm gonna rename that keyframes name, into content. Okay, so I say then also, so we're gonna move from right to left, so it'll be a plus value 50, and all the others values should be okay. So, and also I'm gonna be make sure, okay, that's work, all right, okay, that's okay. So save that. So there you go, the animation is running now. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to add a sort of a fancy animation to the image. So we're going to replace this image animation keyframes with something a bit more complex, okay, and fancy. So if I go to the browser and if I do search in Google animation generator CSS, I should get these results. And in the first one, you should get animista.net. And if you click on that, it will take you to a site where you can create animation, keyframe animations, and you can use it in your code. So just click on try me here, and you get all these options at the top. Now we want to select attention. So at the top, you've got basic, entrances, exits. So I'm going to click on attention, and I'm going to click on in the circles yellow. Okay, so as you can see, the animation is sort of elastic. So to replay this, I need to click on the right hand side, and you've got this sort of a circle arrow. So if you click on that, and it will play it. Okay, and to get the code, we're gonna click on the curly brackets and dot. Okay, so we're gonna just copy the code. So I'm just gonna copy there's some comments in there. I'm not gonna copy the comments. So I'm not gonna copy the comments. So just right click, copy, and I'm gonna paste it into my code at the bottom. Okay, so just put some space there so I know what I pasted. So it's a bit long piece of code. What I would do is I'm not gonna use the first half of this. Okay, so this is WebKit keyframes. So this is for like compatibility. There shouldn't be any compatibility issues. So I'm just gonna delete. So I've got to be careful when so I just want to put a space there. So there's the keyframes, yellow horizontal, and there's WebKit keyframes, yellow horizontal. Now you can leave it both in there. So I'm just going to delete it just to make it more simple. So we're just going to use this keyframe, not the WebKit one. Okay, so this is the keyframes that will give you that elastic effect. So they called it yellow. So I can rename this to any image. Okay, so we're gonna. So I just renamed it to. So this animate keyframe. So I can delete this, or I can comment it out. Okay, so. I just delete it because it might create problems. Okay, so I delete that. So now I've got keyframe anim at the bottom. Okay, so I'm applying that to the image. Okay, so if I save that, go to the browser, and I click on, there you go. Okay, so this is giving it that elastic effect. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to add the animation through JavaScript now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a script at the end of the body tag. So script. Okay, and before we continue, we're going to go into the style.css and we're going to comment out the animation properties that we just added for the image, h2 tag, and the p tag. Okay, so I'm go back into the index.html. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to target these three items. The div. So we're gonna target the div with the image, the h2, and the p tag. So in our script, we're gonna first do constant, and we're gonna say animation items equals to document dot query selector. So we're going to do document dot query select all. Okay, so we're going to search for anything with the animate class. Okay, dot animate. Okay, so at the moment we don't have any classes there, so we're going to add that to the markup for these three elements. So animate okay, so that's done. Okay, so now we should be able to, so this query should return these three items. Okay, so if I do console.log and animation items, okay, so if I go to the browser, and I go into inspect, okay, so it's returned a node list with three items inside. Okay, so now we need to get access to each one of them and see what they are. Okay, so in order to do that, we do animation items dot, we do a for each. Okay, and the for each will have a callback function. So we're gonna have as an arrow function, and so we have access to the actual item, so we just call it item, and then we just say console.log item. Okay, so that should also give us the three items, so div, image, and h2 and p. Okay, so from here we should be able to add, so just expand that out like that. Okay, so from here we should be able to add the animation. So if I do something like item dot style and dot animation equals to, and we should be able to target, and we do backticks, and we should be able to target the animation for that item. So if I go back and say I want to apply this animation, and I just say items.style animation equals animate title, and we want to animate it for 2 seconds. Okay, so basically what we can do is we can just as we've done here, animate 2 seconds infinite. We can actually copy that over. We can say apply, so animate image 2 seconds infinite. Okay, so let's see what that brings us. Okay, now what's happened is we're applying the animation to all three elements, as you can see here. So it's not, so we don't want to apply the same animation, we want to apply different animations. So what we need to do is we need to apply the correct animation for the correct element. Okay, so if we go back into HTML code, what we have here is, what we need to do, we need to somehow specify a dynamic value here. Okay, so if we go into the style.css, in the image we have the value anim image 2 seconds infinite for the image class. So how do we do that? Okay, so in HTML5 there is a way to add extra information to your elements, and that is through something called data attributes. So if I go to the image div, and the way you have to specify is it's data hyphen followed by, and you give it a name. So I'll call it animate. Okay, and then the value equals to, and you can specify the value here. So if I go to the style.css and I just copy that value, the animation value, and go to and paste it in there, right? And also I need to do that for the other ones as well. So I'll go data hyphen animate, animate equals, and so then copy that, and I do it for the same for the next one, the p tag. So it's data animate equals, and we copy that setting over here. Remember, we're only copying the value, not the property. Okay, so I'll copy the data animate item there as well. So if I save that, now I should be able to access this. Now I can do a console in our console.log. I can say .data set. Okay, this will console.log the data attribute. So we'll go back into the browser and inspect and console.log. Okay, it returns an object, and inside the object it's got an animate attribute, and it's got a value. So we need to get hold of that. Okay, so I go back. So instead of saying item style equals animation the value, we can say now item dot data set dot animate. Okay, so if I do that, okay, now you see it's applying the correct animation now. So it's picking up from our HTML tag. So I can just say like for 8 seconds now, change it in the image and go there. So this is moving really slowly now. So all the other ones are doing 2 seconds, this is doing 8 seconds. Okay, so it's picking up the correct one from attributes. So I just make some space there to make it clearer. Okay, so when you do animation items for each, you can get access to the individual attribute. You can get access to the individual attributes for the data attribute there. And within the data attribute, we can we specify the name, which we called animate. Okay, so remember this is a prefix data hyphen, and this is the actual name, the second part, animate. So that's what we're referring to here. Okay, so that's something to note. Okay, I'm just going to put some space here so that I know where the script is. Okay, now when we have more cards and we scroll down, we want the animation to kick in when it comes into view. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. So to prepare for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away infinite looping. Okay, so we just use that to test the animation, so we just want it to run once. Okay, and also I'm going to replicate this cards and the card section, and replicate it. I'm going to replicate it 4 times. Okay, now if I go into the browser, okay, so if I refresh, it will play it once, okay, and the other ones doesn't play at all. But if I refresh and quickly go, see, it does play it, but as I get to it, it finishes. Okay, so it does play it once. So when we're scrolling, we want it to play when it comes into view. So that's what we're going to do now. All right. So we're going to go back into the code, go to the script section. Okay, I'm going to comment this out because we don't need that. We're going to use it for reference maybe later. Okay, so and we're going to use this. We're going to get the animation elements and we're going to console it out. Okay, now we're going to learn how to use the intersection observer. So the general format of an intersection observer is like this. So I have this snippet of code here that has, you declare an options object, and then you feed that options into a new intersection observer. So you say net observer equals new intersection observer, which has a callback and options, and that's the options that you declare here. Okay, so the options is basically the scroll area that you want your items to pass through as for it to get triggered so intersection observer will look out for objects that will intersect with a root element. So in our case, the browser window is going to be our root element, and when we're scrolling, things that pass through it will be our target. Okay, so so the options part will declare what the root element is. So in our case, the root element is going to be the whole window or the viewport. Okay, so in intersection observer, if you don't pass the options, then it will default to the viewport. So that's what we want. But if you want more finer control over, what area you want the scroll to be, then you use the options. So we're not going to deal with the options part for this time, but maybe in another tutorial I'll go over that. So I'm not going to have options. So in our let observer equals new intersection observer, we're going to have a callback. And I'm just going to delete that options part, and we're just going to have callback there. Okay, now second part to this is, then you query your DOM elements to select the target elements. So in our case, we'll query select all animate. So that's what we're doing here. I think we've done that already there. So this is just replication. So so when you've selected all elements with the class animate, then we loop through each one of them, and then we set the observer to the to that item. So we got I think about 6 or 7 items here. 1, 2, 3. Well, I think there's 3 for each card. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's around 12 items. So it will loop through 12 items, and it will set them as to be observed. So these items, when they come into scroll, it will get triggered. So the observer will call the callback. So we haven't written the callback yet. So remember, we're not setting any animation here. Okay, so we're gonna set the animation in the callback. Okay, so we're gonna write the callback. So here, so the callback is, let's say, constant callback equals space there. Oops. So it's going to be a arrow function, and we're going to have a variable. So the variable is going to be called entries. So basically we have access to a set of objects, and we're going to call it entries here. So I'm just going to expand that out. Okay. So for the time being, I'm just going to do console.log and entries. Okay, so this code should output the entries in the console.log. So let's just see what happens now. Okay, so we're going to the console.log. Okay, so I've already declared items there. So I'm gonna comment this out. Okay, now just do a refresh. Okay, so it's got 12 items in there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, up to 12. Right. So each one of those objects will have some other items in there that we're not going to use, but they're sort of it gives you extra information about the area that it's intersecting with, and is it visible, is it intersecting. Okay, so we're going to be interested in, is it intersecting. Okay, so and it's also got a target, so we're going to be interested in is intersecting and target values. So let's just recap. The intersection observer will return an object, and this object we call entries within our callback, and we can loop through these entries and get access to the values. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go and loop through entries, and we're going to say for each. Okay, and within the for each we're going to have a callback. So we're going to have a entry. Okay, and it's going to be a arrow function, and within that arrow function we can say something like if, and we have an expression saying entry dot is intersecting. Okay, so if it's intersecting, that is if that value is true, then we're gonna console.log something like the element is intersecting. Do something like that. Okay, then we go to browser and let's just do a refresh and inspect. Okay, so it's coming up with that console.log. If I go down, and it will output that message there. Okay, so every time we intersect, we get in the message, and we can get access to those values. Okay, that's good. Right. So we can get access to the target value now. So we go entry dot target. Okay, so and the target the target will be a DOM element, so we can actually do this setting there. So target dot style dot animation equals, and we say it's, and we set it to entry dot target dot data set dot animate. Okay, so just to recap, so we're setting the style animation to the target dataset animate. So as we done here, so we're setting our item style to animation to item dataset animate. So target dataset animate. So this should fire our animation now. Okay, there you go. There you go. So the only problem is it runs it once and it doesn't run it again. Okay, so if I refresh and if I scroll down, then it doesn't run it afterwards. So we need to put another else statement in there to remove it. When it's off screen, we need to remove it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Right, so we're going to say, so we got the if statement there. So we're going to say else, and we're going to say entry animation. Just going to copy and paste that there, and we just say none. Okay, so now we run it. Just a refresh. So it runs when it comes into view, and I scroll down, comes in. So when I go scroll back up, it runs it again. So as you can see, it's not so there you go. That's it's working perfectly now. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you liked this and want more tutorials like this, please subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video.